Hello friends, you're here with me, Jen the Taxidermy Witch, and I'm doing a working for Mandy. It's a continued working from the full moon offering I put into the nest when we were live together that day. Otis says hello to everyone. Um, Also, I would like to note that he has been so attached to this working. He hasn't been able to leave the items alone. And no matter where I take them. I tried to film this in the back and get it all set up, and he wouldn't leave the items alone. I've now gone out here and he won't leave them alone. So I take that as he needs to be a part of this working. And so if he jumps up here, I just hope he doesn't break anything. So we're doing a working for Mandy, and her problem in short, we went into detail on the full moon, but she has an elderly grandmother, and her elderly grandmother is now suffering from some elderly problems, and so she's got some health issues and quite older, but luckily Mandy's taking care of her. She lives with her. Once Grandma came home to live with her, everyone started seeing this evil spirit in the shape of a man that they knew. A man that was part of her grandmother's life at one time, but we can't go into detail, nor do we need to. So, it's really been a presence that's affecting everybody's life in a negative way, and so she's just kind of letting me take over an intuitive working for her, and I want to show it to you guys so that you can get ideas from it, but also so that you'll know the kind of workings that I can provide for you. And so my information is below for Etsy if you need a working, or Patreon if you want to support the channel. We have a lot on the table today, and I'm going to go through those things one by one. So first off, we're doing a mini oil lamp, which is in really pristine condition. It has the beautiful hurricane top, a working wick, if you can see that move, a working wick. It seems to be brass, which is a metal that is fine. And then around the outside of the lamp, it's roses. And so roses are just such a powerful herbal alchemy. And you can almost apply them to so many things, but the fact that they symbolize so much throughout our human physical life here, I think that that is like quite the perfect oil lamp. I'm not going to be able to stay on track and say hello to everybody, but I'm glad everybody's here. There's a lot to this working, and so I want to share as much as I can with you guys. So, my mother, Peggy, just ended up picking that oil lamp up for me, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks ago, and I put it up on the shelf with all my other oil lamps. And it's definitely calling to me now. So we're going to be filling that up with herbs, and I'll go through all the herbs and I'll tell you guys why, and we'll do that together. And then when she gets this order in the mail, she'll pour the lamp oil in with her intention. And then as those herbs burn up into the air, it's almost like an incense, like those, you know, it doesn't necessarily smell like anything in particular, unless you were to fill it all with grapefruit skins or something. You could maybe get like an essential oil lamp out of it. I don't know. But when you burn herbs and lamps, it's just kind of more about the spiritual. Now it's touching the air. Now it's gliding upwards toward the astral. So we're going to be doing an oil lamp with a bunch of herbs, which I'll tell them all to you and why we're putting them in there. And I'm really making this video for Mandy because we haven't really had a chance to connect on Skype at the right time. She works a lot. I'm quite busy with everything that's going on. And so I just want to, you know, have this be an example to you guys of a working that you can get from me. And then also so that she knows everything that's going to her working. And Mandy, I wrote it all down. as much as I could, but it's in little detail. I have a much easier time saying things to people. So here we go. Down below, this I just wet last night. It's my Rose of Jericho. Her name is Gertrude. I have a lot of offerings I've given to her over time, and you guys have seen this plant multiple times on this channel. We have a citrine point. We have a lung stone because I burn her incense and I want to give her clear lungs. I'm animating her as much as possible. I have a clear quartz. I have a black tourmaline chunk or 3. I have a bunch of pre-1982 copper pennies to draw things in. And then I've given her a pair of mannequin hands because I'm trying to animate her as much as possible. Because Rose of Jericho, and I've done many videos on this, if you're interested in the plant spirit familiar of Rose of Jericho, just search on YouTube Taxidermy which Rose of Jericho. We've talked about it many times. But I'm doing the best I can to animate her in as many ways as I can think of. Offerings, talking to her, giving her actual physical hands, like, and it reminds me of Edward Scissorhands when his dad finally gives him his hands. Like, it's such a beautiful, tearful moment for me. And then over here we have someone that is quite fantastic, and this is William. And so this is how I, underneath the glass head, this is William, underneath the glass head is European mandrake root, and it's the first bits of the European mandrake root that I got from, this is all I have left of him now. But the mandrake root is also one that is plant spirit familiar. And so I'll give him offerings of blood and milk, just like you would see in that movie Pan's Labyrinth. Those legends are true, and they're awesome, and they've been working out really well for me. And so before this video, gave an offering of blood and milk directly onto the plant that's inside of the head in another little glass jar. And then Gertrude, I gave her a couple of pennies so that they can be assistants in this working. And so if you're just finding the channel or you're new to the channel, I know that all of that sounds really complex and complicated, but if you've been on the channel for a long time, then you know about these two and how I work with them. So I will like their help in the working, and so I'm giving them extra offerings rather than their monthly or weekly offerings to help fuel this. And so we'll get to all of it. I guess you just have to stick with the video because there's a lot of pieces to this. So I also have this figure of a male. It's a clay-made male, and I found it thrifting, and I save and collect mannequins and taxidermy and all that kind of stuff. So this I was drawn to just to have like a masculine element around the working when I'm doing it. But in general, and I'll cleanse this in between each working, absolutely, because you've put new intent on it, you've put a new drive to it. But today, that is representing the spirit, the evil spirit man that's haunting Grandma and haunting Mandy, and literally becoming a seen presence, not just one that makes noise, but an actual seen presence. And so we're trying our best to get all of that to stop. I want to say hi to everybody in the chat, but I have to say it just as a general because we've got so much to do. So know that I love you guys. I'm so happy that you're here. So one thing we're going to be doing with the Rose of Jericho is we're going to be sending Mandy a bottle of Rose of Jericho water. And this will be to resurrect the happiness within the family and to resurrect Grandma's memory if at all possible, if that's something that's needed. But just remember that the Rose of Jericho is known as the resurrection plant, and so you can really tie that magical use to the plant and the water. Now, if you watch my Rose of Jericho videos, we're talking about new moon money magic. Yeah, absolutely. But take this water, and if you're having a crappy day, put it on your feet in the shower. That's what I do, because I have so much of her water, because you change it every day. Put it in your bath water if you're Witch of the Woods and don't care about plants in your bath. I'm not going to suggest that to anybody, but that's something that I do. But the more, and name your plants. Like, if they're a plant that can be a spirit familiar, which I think any plant really could be, as long as it's like animated or living or you talk to it. I mean, you can do that with anything, really. So here's some of Gertrude's water, that Rose of Jericho water. You can see it just has a little yellow tint to it, and that's from the plant soaking in the water. But Mandy, you can use this as much as possible. Just a couple of drops does amazing, amazing work. And I guess since I'm not looking at chat, I would just ask moderators, if you see anybody who's never been here and something weird happens, just please take that away from me. So I'm going to continue filling this all of the way up, because I have more than plenty water of hers to share, but I just wanted to show you how I collect it. And I have these little glass dropper bottles, even with the little glass dropper, which all of that stuff is important to me, but they ship pretty easily. I just usually wrap them in some scotch tape, or not scotch tape, masking tape. So we have the Rose of Jericho oil, we have the lamp, we have William, we have Gertrude. So William, my mandrake root, is going to be a part of an exorcism bottle to shake, to exorcise if the spirit comes around, or if she feels the energy, or especially if she sees it, to shake this exorcism bottle that we're going to make, and we're going to use part of the pieces of William the mandrake root inside of there, as well, and I just fed him, so that's good. And I already asked. I asked the spirit if they would be willing to do this working with me. She wanted water, so I knew that she wanted to do this working, but I did ask him, and you just have to really, really, really listen and trust your intuition. So let's start by making the exorcism bottle. It's going to be super simple. And again, anytime she sees the spirit, or feels the spirit, or hears the spirit, or, spirits can show up in so many ways, she's just going to shake this, and these herbs represent exorcism, and, well, the herbs I'm using are just beans, and beans are excellent for exorcism. So I'm just using like a mixed bean soup. The reason I'm using mixed bean soup rather than just one bean, because either would work perfectly fine. I'm using the mixed bean soup to address all different aspects of color magic. Green, orange, yellow, white, black, brown. There's so much in there. So I will hold my intent over that for all those different colors. I'm going to pour it half full of beans. I'm going to add a chunk of William, my mandrake root, who is here. The jar of that, I'll add a chunk of that. Whatever piece needs to be in this working. Awesome. This is a nice hefty little chunk. And it kind of looks like a little bird. Mandrake root is cool. It's poisonous. You don't want to touch it with your hands. Yeah, some people it affects really a lot. For me, I've never had a problem with it, but I've been touching it with my hands since I got it. So we're going to fill that up more, and this is a cool dark amber glass bottle. I chose to put it in one of these so that the light wouldn't affect it, so she didn't have to keep it in a dark cupboard if she didn't need to. And so we're just going to fill it to cover up William's head in there so that he's surrounded by beans. And then leave some room for the shaking, because the shaking is going to be part of that exorcism rattle that this is. Do you see how that goes? Can you see him in there? He's pretty much covered up with the beans now, but there's that big chunk of mandrake root in there. Now, You could paint a sigil on the outside. You could paint a star of protection. You could paint whatever you feel. You could do some law of attraction on the outside of the bottle. That's something that I'm going to allow Mandy to do if she wants to amp this up and put her personal mark onto it. But I put my intention into this. I've asked William if he'll be a part of this working, and he was glad to be a part of this working, which is not always the case. Sometimes you guys ask on Etsy, can I have some mandrake root? I have to ask him, you know. And that's how I work with plants, but I mean, some people don't have the animated personal relationship with plants, and that's okay too. So we've got the Rose of Jericho water that's going to go to her to resurrect the peace and love in the house, as well as perhaps maybe help resurrect her grandmother's memory. And now we've made this exorcism rattle with mandrake and beans. Okay, so we're doing a protection bottle to hide in Grandma's room. Now, Grandma, I believe they come from like a Christian background, but I want to make something small, you know, and something like this, just to put somewhere in some deep dark corner of a room or behind a piece of furniture. No, we don't think Grandma would be opposed to this, but it's not something she probably wants like out on her dresser like I have from my father or something, you know. And so we're doing a little hidden protection bottle for Grandma's room, and then I'm making a protection bottle to bury outside of her window, and we're going to have the same exact stuff in there. That way it's protecting from the outside and the inside, as well as if that bottle ever did get thrown away, then we could just still have that one buried under the window and feel really good about it. I'm also making her a little protection bottle for her room, as well as an amulet for her neck, a necklace to wear around, because Mandy, turns out she's really like hypersensitive to spirits, and you know, can actually see them and feel them strongly, and you know, I think we all hear them, but as far as seeing and hearing, more people from our community are going to be like that, probably not everybody all around. So in this, and so now we've talked about all of that, and in this oil lamp that I'm making, which is adorned with these beautiful roses all around, she's going to burn this to charge the amulets and the protection bottles, or whenever you feel this evil spirit's presence, or whenever you see it, hear it, etc. The only thing she'll need to add when she gets this is lamp oil and intent. I'm going to be putting all of the herbs on the inside. Now, inside of the lamp, the protection bottles, and the amulets, all 5 of those things, we're going to be adding Norfolk Island pine. And this is from that indoor Yule tree that I was growing a year and a half ago for Christmas. Norfolk Island pine protects and wards evil out of the home. So that works great. And it also provides protection in the home. So that's why we're putting that in there. And it's just a beautiful, lovely green, even after being dried for so long. And also in these lamps, protection bottles, and amulets, we're going to be adding a teeny piece of William the Mandrake root. Just to be a guidance to that working. Because Gertrude, the Rose of Jericho, is just going to be a part of this resurrection water that I sent her. But she's here and helping with the working now. I'm using dried pig's blood because this man in life was a pig. In not the literal terms, but like you know how people say men are pigs? Well, that's not true, but this man really was. And so that's why we're using the dried pig's blood. And then we're going to be using snake skins which we use in a lot of workings. These are red-tailed boa constrictor skins. We want to constrict that spirit from its communication or its presence in the house anymore. And that's why we're using the beautiful, beautiful snake sheds in this. We're also going to be using, excuse me, William, white eggshells that my father ate for breakfast a couple of days ago. We're going to use these for protection of health for Grandma, and we're also going to use them for general protection from this evil spirit. They're white, so that sends out this like purification energy in the color of white and cleansing. We're going to be using one of these dead leaves that I foraged to put a death or an end to the situation of the spirit inhabiting the house and not leaving, not being heard, etc. We're going to use chokeberries to choke the voice, the presence, the abilities of the spirit, so it can bother them no longer. We're going to be using holly leaf for defense against the evil. Holly is sharp and it hurts. So we'll be using holly leaf in each of these pieces, the oil lamp, the amulets, the protection bottles that we bury, the protection bottles that we put in the room, so that that evil energy will get hurt if it comes your way. We're going to be using the duck neck bones that we ate from our full moon soup for communication. And this is communication directly to Lilith, and Mandy knows what that means, but we did a working for her on the full moon out in Lilith's nest, and we offered these to Lilith. I'm taking some of that same soup bones and putting them in the working, so we have a connection to the offering that we gave for the help. We are going to be using wormwood, and Lilith's nest is made mostly of wormwood feathers and madrona leaves, which are poisonous. So is this, apparently. And so the wormwood is to represent a direct communication to Lilith and the offerings that you gave on the full moon, or that we gave together. And then lastly, I have these white sage sticks. When you use your white sage and you snuff out whatever you want to call it, smudge, snuff, whatever, like cleanse your space, these parts don't burn, and I love to add them into oils or oil lamps as a strength and protection. Like, these sticks are really, well, they're strong. I know that it just broke, but sometimes I don't know my strength. But they are strong. That smells amazing. And they represent strength, because it's the strong twig, and then protection. So this is to represent strength and protection. And then lastly, we're going to be adding, I think that is lastly, isn't it lastly? Espresso beans to speed this whole thing up and to give it some like power and abundance. Like, if you drink coffee, it speeds you up, right? It gives you this, temporary jolt of power. So that's where we are. I'm busy doing workings today and Etsy orders. I'm going to work on Thomas's painting and try and finish that. And yeah, to kind of take a break on St. Patrick's Day, just kind of chill and zen out by myself. But I wanted you guys to see what I was doing for this working, because Mandy and I didn't plan this. It was just like something that my deity was telling me to do for her, and just money comes second, the working comes first, if you guys understand what that means. Like, it's more important for me to get this stuff done for people who need it than it is to worry about how much it costs. So it's really good seeing all of you guys. I'm going to read your comments back in a little bit. Have a beautiful and safe St. Patrick's Day. Be safe on the roads, because other people drink and drive, and even if you're being good, it's crazy sometimes. Be safe. And my Etsy and Patreon's down below if you guys need anything. And I'm going to try and kind of recoup so that tomorrow I have more energy for you. It's great to see everybody. Happy holiday. 1,000 kisses from this loft to you. Bye.